It is well-worn territory at this point, but the Souls series bears an awful lot of similarities to older 8 and 16-bit era games. Our own Olivier Bouchard described Dark Souls as feeling like a sequel to the original Legend of Zelda from an alternate reality. And he's not wrong. There are lots of obvious comparisons to draw between the Souls games and titles from the early 90s. For instance, the series focus on difficulty at a time when most AAA developers have been striving for accessibility, or how its secrets often manifest in delightfully unconventional ways. Hell, just having secrets is pretty special in this day and age. But Demon's Souls, even more so than its successors, feels especially like an older style of game. Like Super Mario Galaxy, Demon's Souls riffs on an old-fashioned level select screen, presenting a linear progression within each of the game's worlds. On paper, this isn't very different from the gameplay loop of any of the other Souls games, but psychologically it changes how we engage with Demon's Souls spaces. A linear, stage-based progression has a built-in crescendo. As a player, you're constantly aware of how tension is rising and falling, you know when to be on the edge of your seat and when to breathe. Conversely, Dark Souls tries to leave you wondering what's around every corner constantly, with bated breath at all times. This creates a much more organic universe, but maintaining that kind of escalation is much harder to sustain. At some point, a subset of players is going to relax permanently and lose their fear of what's to come. Demon's Souls, on the other hand, affords every set piece the chance to be the center of an arc. This structure helps make each and every zone historic, as if these are pivotal areas in a greater conflict. It could be because of financial constraints, but Demon's Souls has a distinctly uncluttered aesthetic. Scenes are set bare, which makes each and every focal point pop. From Software uses this to great effect as a diversion, creating situations where players will be fixated on the right half of the screen right before an enormous dragon bursts into the left side. It's a really smart way to create rich moments and iconography without wasting artists' talent on insignificant details. It also really helps the game's art to stand out. For example, a thoroughfare with a single statue is ominous, but a group of 12 statues used as pillars is just background. All of these empty spaces are also used in the game's level design. These days, designers tend to show the player points of interest through HUD or more subtle color palette and lighting cues. Demon's Souls, however, uses the repetitive elements of its textures to highlight aberrations that can help steer the player. Think bombable cracks in the walls of Link to the Past dungeons. Ultimately, this design allows mostly linear levels to feel wide open and spacious. Demon's Souls is packed with dead ends, but without a blinking quest marker telling you where you should be going, the game's sense of discovery remains intact. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Hard is an empty way to describe the Souls games. They're so much more layered and interesting than being reduced to a modern equivalent of Contra. In fact, this mediocre adjective is at the core of why I never played Demon's Souls back in 2009. I'm not usually one for a game whose challenge is its main appeal. And while Souls is far from being the impenetrable juggernaut of difficulty that it's made out to be, there's a reason why it's so regularly compared to something like Mega Man. The Souls games are designed for you to learn their ins and outs. Each enemy, area, and animation is constructed for the player to internalize. But part of the brilliance of the series is that it's also an RPG, so player progression allows you to circumvent challenge by exploring other activities and leveling up. They create an exceptional balance between patience in terms of play and strategy in addition to skill, and most players will, of course, employ both. Demon's Souls leans more heavily into vintage game design than other titles in the series, but it feels like a necessary internalization of the games it takes inspiration from. There is so much love for video games packed into Demon's Souls. At times, it's as if you're playing a Zelda game or exploring Castlevania. It has moments of thrill that are reminiscent of Contra or Super Mario Bros. But it's all purely inspirational, because Demon's Souls and its sequels are completely their own. From Software aren't creating renditions of old ideas, they're iterating and designing using as many ideas in the canon of games as they can. And they have made something truly special. Hey, you made it to the end. You're amazing, thank you! If you like these bucket list essays, why not check out one on Grim Fandango called Remembering Rubikava. Olivier wrote it, and it's great. You could also help out by donating on castlecouch.com or just doing the simple, old-fashioned subscribe-y like a do. Thanks again, and keep talking about games. They're the best.